Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the United States Hot Association's Championship Mud Racing and Monster Truck Tour. I'm Bret Kepner, and along with my partner, Jerry Devine, we'll be bringing you the action this time around from the Baltimore Arena in Baltimore, Maryland, with only 3 events left on the 1990 championship schedule, Jerry.
The season is fast coming to a close, and we've got some new leaders.
That's true. Right now, the Monster Truck War should be interesting here tonight, if only because we've got the hottest young driver on the national tour right now, Dale Boucher in the AM/PM Rocket from California, our last winner. Indeed, 2-time world champ Tom Martin will be leading the Mud Racing Brigade. Stay with us. It will be wild.
Mud and Monster Truck Racing Championships. And, Bret, all year long now, we've been watching these pros push their machinery to the limit, fighting for those precious points. And the world champion Mud and Monsters will be determined very soon now in our series finals at the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago on Friday and Saturday night, November 30th and December 1st. I can hardly wait.
On our last event in Worcester, Massachusetts, we made it to the runner-up spot. You might remember he crashed that truck just prior to the event in Massachusetts. He still hasn't had a chance to paint the vehicle because he's on the road so much. He says he just doesn't have time to paint it. He's going to leave it in primer. But in all seriousness, when we talked to Jim earlier, he admitted that the power plant is all that matters.
We have a 572 cubic inch alcohol motor running an 871 supercharger, about 30% over, so we're building some real serious horsepower.
Well, he'll get a chance to prove just how much horsepower on this 80-foot long course, qualifying our machines by the basis of a lap time, as always, Jerry. The man in the far lane will be the first one to run, Ray Perkowski out of St. Louis, Missouri, with the Evil Force Ford, a tow truck of all things.
It's real heavy, but he's been trying over the past few months to lighten that machine up.
It's an honest 22,000 pounds, where some of the machines we'll be seeing at this particular event here in Baltimore will weigh as little as 7,500 pounds. Perkowski in the far lane will get first shot at the clock from this 80-foot long course. Just about ready. Solo runs in qualifying. It would be a sloppy way to start the event off, but he also got in and out of the throttle before he ever hit the cars. It is an absolute amazement to me to get 22,000 pounds of Ford as high in the air as he does. The elapsed time on the run, 5.88 seconds. That will be the mark to beat, and here's Jim Reese.
Jim Reese doing a great job, boy. He just puts the pedal down.
This machine obviously substantially lighter than the tow truck. Look at this thing effortlessly in the air, sideways in the air, I might add. That was an interesting landing and a great job on the throttle of powering out of that. The elapsed time for the Eliminator, 4.13 seconds. Substantial increase. That'll now be the mark to beat. Here's the superstar.
Dale Boucher with the AM/PM Rocket. This was the winner of our last event, and we were in Worcester.
The Worcester, Massachusetts upset victor with the AM/PM Chevrolet. Meanwhile, lining up the 1989 Rookie of the Year in the U.S. Hot Association, Rob Hughes in the First Blood Ford. But everybody's got their eyes on the silver, orange, and purple Chevrolet that dominated the last event and moved way up at the point.
Rob Hughes, who's from Woodstock, Illinois, he's been having problems with the head over the last few months, but I think he's got that problem corrected now.
A home-built truck, giving thumbs up to the starter and leading on a solo.
Good run.
Taking some interesting bounces out there. The First Blood Ford puts the strain on his driver. Watch Hughes in the cockpit. I want to talk about spinal compression. That is a rough way to go. The elapsed time, 3.74 seconds for Fuchs.
Dale Boucher.
That kid is something, isn't he? I'll tell you what, I have a feeling that may have been even better than the First Blood Ford attempt. Hitting the cars beautifully, still getting sideways in the air. There may be a problem with that first car sending those trucks crooked. The elapsed time, 3.39.
All right, our next pair coming up to the line right now.
This could easily be a war here, Jerry. Freddie Shafer and the Barefoot Chevy, the lightest and probably most powerful machine here tonight, has a chance to make a major difference in the fact that Taurus is currently leading the point standings. Bigfoot is currently in the top 4. He could easily change that.
All these drivers are extremely competitive, but Fred Shafer, he sometimes is a little bit heavier on that pedal than most.
I think that's the understatement of this event. Fred Shafer could be, well, one of the scariest drivers out there. He is not afraid to do whatever it takes to win. Supercharged, alcohol-burning Chevy.
Gotta remember this.
That is flawless form. Instead of trying to jump the whole course, Shafer uses the power off the line to hit the first set of cars and keep it low. Look how low that truck was. See a lap time, 2.69 seconds. Number one by 0.7 of a second.
Well, here's Rob Morris. He's from Fort Worth, Texas, four-wheel crazy. And he's got some real competition there with Bret Shafer.
I'll tell you, Rob Morris was the very first winner of the year in the 1990 U.S. Hobbit Association Series, an upset in Anaheim, California. He is still ranked in the top 10 in the World Championship points chase with his Texas Ford.
A good run with Rob Morris.
No question. 2.91 seconds. He puts it under 3 seconds flat and takes the number 2 spot behind Freddie Shafer again. We've got two different techniques here. Jump the whole course or keep it low to the ground and try to give it more power.
This is going to be an interesting night of racing.
Very interesting. But when we come back, we've got the other half of U.S. Hobbit Association competition, Super Modified Mud Racing.
Stay with us. Exciting action coming up. By Stillwater Design.
And Jerry, we've got two-time world champ Tom Martin here, but remember, 1 year ago at this event, he was upset by a relatively unknown driver from right here in Baltimore, Butch Truck. Right now, it's Henry Marciani with the Rat Trap, a fuel-injected Chevy-powered 1932 Ford.
Well, perhaps some of those at home are tuning in for the very first time in mud racing. And we want you to point out to you that there's an 80-foot to start, 80 feet to stop, so that the actual racing course itself is only 80 feet long. Wow! Did you see this, Bret?
I'll tell you what, tremendous rooster tail and mud. Marciani is happy with that one. He stops it within the required 80-foot of shutdown area that you just talked about. There's the elapsed time, 2.09 seconds. Believe it or not, that is a career best for Henry Marciani, and that indicates to me, Jerry, that we're looking at a fast hit.
That's right. Now, as it gets a little bit sloppier down at the finish line, that 80 foot to stop is going to come into play a little bit more. This is the wild side, Brian Briscoe. Whoa, he just blazed off of the finish line poles there.
Brand new lowrider 1948 Fiat Topolino with Chevrolet power, 2.37 seconds, the elapsed time for the 80-foot course. Remember that we'll be qualifying the 4 quickest drivers for the overall championship battle.
All right, this is Hellfire, Pat Riley. That's right, the 4 fast will come back again in the shootout.
This is one of your favorites, Jerry. The supercharged small block Chevy makes noise like no other vehicle.
Oh, it's high winding. Listen to it. Oh, he does the job.
On the brakes hard. We don't seem to have any problem with stopping in that 80 feet distance, but as you pointed out, Jerry, when it gets slippery, it's going to be rough. 2.16 seconds. That'll put the Hellfire entry and Pat Riley into the number 2 spot right now, and the next driver down will give us a bumping procedure with 4 cars in.
Well, earlier we talked to our next racer, Jim Weber, and we asked Jim what is it going to take to win tonight's event.
I think what it's going to take to win tonight is going to be a real early number and get out early before the line goes away.
A good run. And, of course, what he's talking about is drawing the starting position, 1 through whatever number we have here tonight.
Before the starting line itself actually starts to get slippery and starts to lose traction at 2.003 seconds, though. That's the quickest run so far. Here's John Eppel, a supercharger for the first time at our last event in the Contents Under Pressure Jeep from New Jersey.
Looks like that finish line, Bret, should be getting a little slow. Goggles down a place. Here we go. Wow! Whoa! He took out the finish line.
What a tough break for Eppel. Enough power to yank the front wheels 4 feet in the air off the starting line, but then the machine gets uncontrollable, and despite a 2.17-second ride, he just center punches that finish line pole. When you go past the boundary banners on each side of the course, you're out of bounds, you're disqualified.
And rolling to the starting line now is the instant T, driven by Chad Miller.
The young man we saw go upside down at Tampa Stadium earlier this year, and he is back with a vengeance for the supercharged street roadster out of Ohio. The mark to beat to get into the quick four right now, 2.16 seconds. He can run that quick and bunches.
Good run.
Great run. Miller, though, hard on the brakes, trying to stay in bounds, and it looked like he just barely did it. Then again, it doesn't look like he's too happy. Watch these street-legal tires swing the mud out of the tread and then hook up the elapsed time, 2.062 seconds. Hard on the brakes down there in the shutdown.
And he rolls over the disqualification line.
Hopefully it was to my advantage as far as drawing an early number in the competition, considering there's so many trucks. And hopefully I'll have a straight shot. And I'd also like to tell all the females out there that I'm doing something that's very unusual and hopefully releasing a lot of pressure for everybody else.
Oh, and she's out of bounds.
The sport's only female driver in supermodified mud racing, Marcy Laurie from New Hampshire in the Granite State Outlaw. A 2.631 second run, but watch her hard on the brakes in the AMC-powered machine. She didn't hit it by much, but she hit it by enough. That's her second disqualification in this qualifying round. Here is the defending champion and the man who beat Tom Martin at this event 1 year ago, Butch Truck, from right here in Baltimore in the incredible Mudmaster 1932 Ford.
And this is a strong running machine.
You might remember last year he was driving a black Jeep. He changed to a body and chassis style very similar to Tom Martin's, except this year a supercharged, fuel-injected methanol-burning Chevy.
The Mudmaster. Good run!
No question about it. Look how early he stopped on that pass. He had to go quicker than 2.16 to get in. Look at the elapsed time. The quickest ever here at the Baltimore Arena. 1.90 seconds. Jerry, I can't believe he ran 190 and stopped that thing so quick.
That is something. All right, coming up next, the Mud Cruiser, Jay Thomas.
Thomas, a relative newcomer to the U.S. Harvard Association National Event Trail. He's holding his arms out of the roll cage so that the ground crew can see that he is not touching any controls while they connect the kill switch.
Notice the kill switch is running on a cable over the cars, right over the track here at Baltimore.
Now, they'll still shut the engine off right at that 80-foot finish line, regardless. He has to go quicker than 2.09 seconds to get in the field. It's already one of the quickest we've ever seen. The Chevy-powered Mud Cruiser.
Another good run. Can he stop? And he does it.
Tell you what, there is nothing wrong with the starting line here. Very little tire spin. 2.20 seconds is an excellent pass for this young driver. It won't be enough to get him in the quick four right now, however. Like I said, we're already dealing with one of the quickest fields ever. About 10 feet from those men.
Rolling to the starting line next will be the Dreamweaver with Warren Weaver behind the controls. A homemade machine.
And a very heavy one at that. It is one of the heavier vehicles in competition. It's one of the last of the high center of gravity mud racers.
Oh, and Warren Weaver has some problems.
That was basically just a backfire through the single four-barrel carburetor on this Chevy-powered machine. And it was enough to kill the motor. And Warren Weaver looking down saying, did I blow my chance? Unfortunately, the word is you did, Warren. Watch the carburetor. Black circle on top of the hood. You see the pop. Apparently an intake valve hanging open, just backfiring through the carburetor, and that was enough to put him right out of it.
Well, it's the Gunsmoke, Rich Marcine. Next competitor. A straight run, but a little bit slow.
Down on power for the New Jersey campaigner of another high center of gravity machine in 2.76 seconds. It almost looked like the machine just didn't even have enough power to keep the tires up out of the mud, and that, of course, is the key here.
All right, this will be the kicker, Jeremy Finley.
This machine debuted at the beginning of the season, and it's got a bunch of power. It's a very surprising machine. Just barely. Boy, I'll tell you, you watch the front end flopping around on this thing. At 2.33 seconds, the nitrous oxide injected Chevy-powered Jeep. If you want to secure that front end fiberglass a little better next time. He stops it in time, but he won't qualify for the quick four. Here is a wild one. Coming up next, you're about to see the Hot Tuna Fiat, one of the wildest mud racers in the world. Stay with us. The most popular, most gorgeous, and scariest mud racers. Bob Heisner's Maryland-based, short wheelbase, 1948 Fiat Topolino, supercharged, fuel-injected, methanol Chevy power. Look at the flames coming out of the exhaust headers. If, and I do stress, if it goes straight, it can put down some big runs.
Get ready, race fans. This machine flies. Hot tuna! Sideways in, he gets it stopped.
The short wheelbase Fiat, one of the shortest wheelbases in mud racing. It's easy to put sideways if you're looking to pick up some extra distance down there. 2.36 seconds, but there's the reason why. He had to drive it away from the outer boundary line on the left side of the track. Look at him, staring at that banner, putting her sideways.
Big Melvin Brown with Bret Heat. We talked to Melvin a little bit earlier tonight. What's it going to take to win?
I think tonight it'll take a real good number and a lot of tire speed, good launch, good stopping time.
Good run.
It's interesting that Melvin shut down before the finish line, apparently, and the machine almost took a nosedive into the mud about 36 inches deep down there. Watch the front end. Yeah, she goes in big. But 2.083 seconds, believe it or not, by 7 thousandths of a second, he gets in the field.
Our next competitor will be Jody Kelly with Stumpy's Tea. Whoa! It's getting slippery down there at that other end there, Bret.
That's true. You can see Kelly actually shutting the throttle off well before the finish line. Kelly, on the other hand, runs 2.062 seconds, just a couple of thousandths of a second quicker than Melvin Brown, and that means he's now in the field. It takes a 2.069 just to qualify.
Well, Tom Marsh will be next to try it with the Intruder.
Traveling companion of Chad Miller in the Instant T from the state of Ohio with his Jeep.
Oh, and that's a great run.
I'll tell you, there were so many good aspects of that run. Beautiful launch, carrying the wheels with this nitrous-injected Chevy car. 2.40 seconds won't get him in, but I'll tell you what, there's nothing wrong with the starting line. We've heard a lot of drivers, Jerry, say that they were worried about getting an early number so that they could get on the starting line when it's good. Here's a guy that could probably win no matter what the starting line is like. Two-time world champ Tom Martin. What's it like with 1,600 horsepower with nitrous oxide?
It really gives you about 500 horsepower. It really snaps you back in the seat. It's really, really awesome.
The picture says it all, Bret.
I'll tell you, that was a perfect Tom Martin run. There's the perfect Tom Martin salute to the crowd when he knows it's good. Carrying the wheels off the starting line. Look at the elapsed time. 1.98 seconds. He qualifies for the quick four.
Rolling to the starting line now is the Blue Max with Melvin Brown. Good run, but he goes over the DQ line.
Tell you what, it didn't look like Melvin Brown had any brakes to speak of. The run, a lot of tire spin off the starting line, putting sideways to begin with, 2.40 seconds. But right now, Melvin is pumping this brake, and it just doesn't seem to want to do anything. He's cranking the wheel to stay away from the wall. He gets disqualified.
All right, still plumb crazy. Drag Baker. Good run for this homemade machine, and he gets it stopped.
Didn't seem to be too concerned about the stopping. The starting line launched pretty good, but 2.23 seconds for the amassed Pennsylvania racer with a nitrous oxide-injected Chevy-powered machine will not get him in. Believe it or not, it takes a 2.062-second run to get in this field. Here's the Red Rebel, Charlie Stoltzfus from Pennsylvania with a Ford engine in this 32 coupe.
Good run, but a little bit slow.
Yeah, again, that was a little down on power. I don't think he tagged that finish line pole as a disqualification. He'll have time. He was all over the place. 2.67 seconds, and he did hit the pole. We couldn't see it from our angle on the first time. That was a disqualification. That's about the fifth one we've had, Jerry.
Oh, and look at this one, the Michigan Off-Road, Mark Waitrose.
How about a supercharged fuel-injected Ford motor in a Ford Thunderbird funny car?
And it's 3. And he gets a shutdown. Mark Waitrose.
I'll tell you what, that was a rough ride down to the finish line. Interestingly, the starting line looks good. We're starting to get ruts down at the finish line. 2.13 seconds, a great run for Waitrose's Ford-powered Thunderbird, but it won't be good enough to get him in. Can you believe that? A 2:13 will not qualify right now.
Bad reaction. Sam Poole in the driving. And just about ready. Goggles down. Oh, and Sam Poole gets sucked down into the mud.
But the problem was pretty easy to spot, Jerry. You watch, when we go to the replay, you'll see immediately why that thing sank like the Titanic. Watch the front tires. No power whatsoever to the front end. That's what kind of mud these guys are skimming over at 70 miles an hour. That's how deep that mud is. That's what happens when you don't have 1,600 horsepower in four-wheel drive, and that's what you look like when you've got to get the hook to get out of a pit.
It's sometimes even difficult to do that.
Bad reaction? Yeah, we'd say so at this point. Tough break for the newcomer with the Chevy-powered Jeep, but like I said, people don't realize that that's 48 inches of mud out there. When these 1-second and 2-second machines go skimming over to 30 miles an hour, you think it's nothing. That's the look of despair. Here is the quickest and fastest Ford-powered entry on the tour right now, and currently ranked number 2 in the world championship point stage. Preston Ward from Pennsylvania, driving for his son Matt, who owns the Mystic Warrior. Nitrous oxide injected, fuel injected Ford in a 30 Ford Coupe.
Watch out. Unbelievable!
Hard on the brake. He touches the banner. I can't believe it, by not more than 2 or 3 inches. Preston Ward's incredible wheel sander is out. Look at this torque launch. Unbelievable. 2.25 seconds. Wouldn't have gotten him qualified anyway. Look at this man trying to stop this thing by 4 inches, no more. He is out of bounds and disqualified.
All right, the psychotic speed with Mike Spina. A great run for Mike, and he gets it shut down.
You were definitely right, Jerry. The biggest problem on this track right now is the 80 feet of shutdown area. It's like ice down there. Watch how early Spina locks up the brakes, and watch how far it slides anyway. And when you've got all 4 wheels locked up, you're helpless in there. You're just praying that it doesn't go out of bounds. From Detroit, Tony Fierro, the Let's Boogie Ford Ranger. This is one of the quickest and fastest full-body trucks in the sport. It's gone under 2 seconds flat.
Notice how he's got it lengthened out.
Extended wheelbase, this thing has power.
Rolls it into the light. Good run.
And again, you see all arms and elbows in that cockpit trying to get the thing stopped and steer it. An excellent run for Fierro. 2.18 seconds. That's an incredible run for a 3,000-pound vehicle. But like I said, at this unbelievably quick program, it's not good enough to get in. One of the original mud races here.
Dave Ray with the Midnight Magic.
On our last event at Worcester, Massachusetts, we saw the debut of this nitrous oxide-injected, fuel-injected, Ford-powered fiberglass Ranger. They don't have the bugs worked out of it yet. We'll have to wait and see if the Midnight Magic team can qualify.
You know, Bret, these fellas are slamming on the brakes at the finish line and then following us right at the finish line, giving us that bump.
Got to be on David Ray's mind. An incredible run, hard on the brakes. He just touches it. That's the second time we see that happen. And Ray, one of the very first world champions in mud racing, is disqualified on a 2.49-second run. Like I said, that would not have been good enough to qualify. When you're disqualified, you drop to dead last, and you don't get paid. Simple as that. He's out of here.
80 feet to start, 80 feet to stop. This is the agitator, Lee Holt.
Jerry, that was a situation of a driver getting out of the throttle because he was so concerned. You could see the front end drop in just before the poles. 2.47 seconds wouldn't have helped Lee Holtz anyway. But at this point, the most nervous man in Baltimore has got to be Jody Kelly, who's hanging onto that bump spot.
This is Steve Balthasar. All blown out.
Man, he slid a long way down there like it's on ice. The winner earlier this year in Tampa, Florida, with his supercharged Ford-powered Ranger, just misses by 0.06 of a second, 2.12 seconds. He will not be in the quick four. So final qualifying shows defending champ Butch Truck in the Mudmaster #1 at a track record 1.90 second pass. How about a field anchored by the Stumpy P of Jody Kelly at 2:06, and Jerry, it's going to get wilder.
It sure will. Coming up is going to be the Monster Truck battling it out in first round elimination. Stay with us.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Baltimore Arena as we continue action in the Monster Truck competition. Now, we've already seen qualifying. As a matter of fact, we have an interesting scenario here. Barefoot #1, First Blood #2 will pair up in the first round, Ford and Chevy. Four-Wheel Crazy and Eliminator, another Ford and Chevy battle. And AMTM Boston Evil Force. They're all Ford and Chevy races. But because it's a six-truck field, the low ET loser, in other words, the quickest loser against the clock in the first round, will return for a full four-truck semifinal round.
It's going to be exciting. First one coming up, Barefoot and First Blood. We're looking at First Blood right here with Rob Fuchs from Woodstock, Illinois.
Last year's Rookie of the Year, who, as you pointed out, Jerry, had problems with cylinder heads this year, is up against the driver who has a chance to change the World Championship points lead if he can do well enough here tonight, Fred Shafer, and the incredible lightweight supercharged Chevy known as Barefoot.
Fred drives with his foot, real heavy. As we just saw it, and he loses something there.
Yeah, I don't even know exactly what that is rolling down the track. Possibly part of an inner wheel. I'll have to check it on the slow motion. You think this guy is aggressive? That's a tire off one of the cross cars that went sailing out of there. You don't think he's aggressive? That's aggressive. Absolutely no contest against Rob Fuchs. Remember, Torres is leading the World Championship points race. Bigfoot is in the top 4. Barefoot could knock them both down. Rob Fuchs gave it everything he had, no question about it. Beautiful picture, perfect leap, just about landing at the finish line. Unfortunately, the blue Chevy was a truck length ahead.
Well, that'll bring up our next pair now. The AMPM Rocket going against Ray Perkowski.
Interesting view of Dale Boucher lining up against the cars. This is the youngster from California in the silver Chevrolet Near Lane who won the last event on the U.S. Hobbit Association Tour. Now, with only 3 races remaining on the 64-event season schedule, Boucher is making a last-ditch attempt at putting himself in the top 5 in the point standing. Perkowski, who we saw qualified in the number 6 spot with that heavyweight Ford, has got to be at a disadvantage here, Jerry.
Over 20,000 pounds, and a real heavy machine. Both drivers making sure everything is in readiness, kind of psyching each other out a little bit, too.
You can tell Boucher back behind the line was waiting for Perkowski, then he shot back up there and lined himself up with the cars. In any form of straight line competition, whether it's drag racing, monster trucks, mud racing, whatever, there seems to be a common theory that the last man to the line has some kind of psychological advantage. That's what Boucher's after.
We see these short courses like we have here tonight. There's a lot more of these starting line games played.
We've seen psychology come to play in this sport very definitely in the last few years. Now, the starting line banners go up so that each machine is lined up properly. Boucher knows that Fred Shafer has a handle on this event like no one does. And it's going to take a serious amount of power to threaten Shafer.
Notice both of them are taking the inside of both of their lanes.
Could make it awfully sloppy if they end up in the mud pit.
AMPM Rocket getting there first.
A dead even starting line launch. There was no driver that got a hole shot of any size there, but it looked like just simply the weight of Perkowski's one-of-a-kind tow truck that kept him from making a race of it. Again, a picture-perfect jump, but you can see right there a half-truck advantage at the finish line poles. Kurkowski, in the meantime, was doing everything he could. And again, I'll stress that to get 22,000 pounds of Ford tow truck this high in the air takes some horsepower. No question about it.
If Kurkowski can lighten that truck up, he's going to be a terror on the circuit.
Even that motor in a lightweight truck would do some serious damage.
All right, our final pair now coming into the line.
Remember, the losers are paying attention to what's going on as much as anybody else, because the quickest of the drivers who gets to the finish line second will come back. A very unusual second chance in monster truck racing.
Well, Rob Morris is going to be making a single.
We just got word that Jim Reese in the Ecology Eliminator suffered some kind of drivetrain problem during qualifying, and he has been unable to effect repairs in time for this first-round encounter with Morris. And the Texas-based Ford Ranger gets a solo run.
But the time is going to count.
That's right, and if nothing else, Morris needs to get more time on this course to figure out which lane he wants in elimination.
A good run.
And keeping it low to the ground again. That's the major difference between Rob Morris's approach and just about anybody else out here. If you watch the starting line launch, he's relatively conservative, but watch the hit on the cars. This thing isn't going 15 feet in the air. It's probably not more than 3 feet above the surface of those cars. He's trying to keep it low to the ground to get the tires back on the earth quicker to give it more power. Now, who is the lucky winner of the low ET loser contest? It was Rob Fuchs in the First Blood Ford. That's the good news. The bad news is he has to run Fred Shafer in barefoot again.
And the four-wheel crazy, driven by Rob Morris, will be going against the AM/PM Rocket, driven by Dale Boucher. Well, stay with us. Coming up, Monster Trucks battle in the semifinals. Don't go away.
Welcome to the Baltimore Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. And Jerry Devine, as we get ready to go into the semifinal round of monster truck racing, it looks like Fred Shafer and Barefoot may have a pretty free ride into the final unless something drastically goes wrong.
Anything can happen in U.S. Hot Rod Monster Truck Racing. Let's take
true.
a look. Let's go down to the floor and check out the semifinal round. Fred Shafer in the far lane from us. Rolling up to the line is First Blood, Rob Fuchs.
This looks familiar. We've seen it already once so far tonight. Rob Fuchs had to race the barefoot Chevy of Shafer in the first round. But remember, the quickest loser of our six-truck first round came back in the semifinals, granted a reprieve, so to speak. Fuchs got that chance, but he has to run the same man again, Freddie Shafer. Freddie's probably looking over saying, how many times do I have to beat this guy?
There's no reprieve this time. Oh, and the fans are ready for this one.
You could see what was going on all the way. If you looked on the starting line, you saw Rob Fuchs looking to see if his front tires were lined up. He wasn't paying attention to the Christmas tree. Fred Shafer was. It may have been a different outcome, but right now it's all Freddie Shafer. Rather rough landing there on Freddie. He's doing more damage to the jump cars than anybody else here tonight. Now, when we look at Rob Fuchs' replay, you'll see that Rob is looking out the driver's side window trying to see if the front wheels were lined up correctly. And indeed, he was paying attention to that left front tire and not the Christmas tree, which is located, Jerry, directly in front of the drivers all the way down the finish line. Watch. He was just putting his thumb out to tell the starter he was ready, and then he saw that Shafer was halfway down the track, and he just got out of the gas. There was no use in wasting the parts on that one.
All right, so Fred Shafer advances into the final round now, and it's four-wheel crazy with Rob Morris from Fort Worth, Texas, coming up. He'll be going against Dale Boucher in the AM/PM Rocket.
Well, certainly Boucher has got to think that he's got the confidence, based on his win in Worcester, Massachusetts, to annihilate this guy that won Anaheim. But Rob Morris has also got to know, on the other hand, that there's a young kid in the other lane who wants to win everything in the world, and he can put a stop to it. He's already been in the winner's circle earlier this year. It'll be interesting to see how he handles it. Two completely different approaches here, Jerry.
Well, Rob Morris definitely is becoming more and more experienced as the season goes on, and he's going to be a strong contender as we go into the finals of this year, but also next year.
He's on in the top 10 in points all year long.
was that close.
I sure wouldn't want to have to pick a winner. Luckily, we've got electronic finish line judges. And indeed, that was as close as it gets. Rob Morris did not gain any significant starting line advantage on the youngster from California. He drifted away from that low technique he was using. He nailed those cars. They landed evenly, but we've just received word that the four-wheel Crazy Ford is the winner. And if it was by mere inches, Jerry.
That was a tough one to call. Of course, they have videotape cameras at the finish line, and the judges can review the finish of each of these races.
Now, the heavier of the two machines, the AM/PM Rocket, didn't lack any airspace here. He was way up there, rough landing, and again, the front end coming down right at the finish line, almost into a nosedive, but Boucher did not win.
Bottom line is that high jump over the cars could have cost them the race.
That's very true, and both of them that high, that's probably what made it that even. That match didn't prove that much. It only told us that the four-wheel Crazy of Rob Morris goes into the final.
Again, barefoot, Fred Shafer.
That will be a battle that the crowd will like. Ford and Chevrolet, and you know Rob Morris wants to get back into the winner's circle. On the other hand, Fred Shafer wants the World Championship points lead. Both drivers have a reason to drive it out the back door. And speaking about the back door, the Super Modified Mud Racers will be trying to do the same when they battle in the Grand Slam Shootout coming up next.
Stay with it.
We're back at the Baltimore Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. The quickest four Super Modified Mud Racers here tonight. Now battle it out for the Grand Slam Championship, Jerry.
Coming up will be Jim Weber with the American-made, and we're going to see some screaming action now as we're now in the shootout.
Weber qualified for this field at 2:03. Remember, it took a 2:06 just to get in the quick four. He'll get the first chance to set the pace. Again, the quickest he'll have time wins the battle.
Good run. Can he stop it? And he does.
You know, these drivers were so worried about the starting line, Jerry, and there's nothing wrong with this starting line. Weber hooks up. The problem may have been that he got moving around, to be honest with you, down at the finish line. You can see him drifting over to the left-hand side. 2.27 seconds will be the mark to beat, and there's those ruts that you brought up. They're getting worse, Jerry.
The problem definitely is at the finish line, not the starting line. Well, our next racer coming up will be the Mudmaster, Butch Truck.
Remember, Groff won here a year ago. This is his hometown event, and he beat the world champ, Tom Martin, to do it 1 year ago.
And the five-window coupe gets it stopped.
Man, that was a pass. Again, the starting line just took it up beautifully for this late in the event, and Groff drove it all the way through. Look at the elapsed time, 2.08 seconds. Watch those tires, because well past the finish line, he was underpowered until the kill switch shut the engine off for him. So that'll be the mark to beat, 2.08 seconds. Groff once again in the lead at the event that he won 1 year ago. Here's Jody Kelly.
Stumpy C. Making sure that everything is in place.
Kelly was the slowest of the four qualifiers at 2:06. You want to call that slow with the supercharged 23T from Atlanta.
Good run.
Putting it sideways, trying to stop it. No, he hits the banner. The first disqualification of the shootout round. Jody Kelly, 2.21 seconds. Wouldn't have done him any good anyway. But watch. Again, you want to make up 8 feet of stopping distance. Put the vehicle sideways if you can. If it's really going to get close, that'll save you sometimes. But in this case, there you see the banner going over. It didn't help. And there's a dejected Jody Kelly. Now it's up to the man.
Tom Martin with the Mud Patrol. Tom Martin is the defending champion of the U.S. Hot Rod Association. Let's see if he can do it.
And remember, Martin was runner-up here to Groff 1 year ago. He's got to go quicker than 2:08 to win the event and get revenge on the hometown boy.
The master of nitrous oxide. And he gets it stopped.
Martin was on the brakes real quick. The traditional Tom Martin wheel stand off the starting line, but the elapsed time is not good enough. By 0.05 of a second, Tom Martin loses the final round battle, and for the second year in a row, Butch Truck wins in front of his hometown crowd and beats the world champ doing it. What a Cinderella story.
Well, coming up, it's going to be the monster truck battle to the finish. The finals of the Monsters machines coming up. Stay with us. We're back at the Baltimore Arena in the monster truck finals coming up, Bret.
Fred Shafer in the far lane, one of the original monster truck drivers, truly an innovator in this form of motorsports, takes on one of the newcomers, Rob Morris out of Texas, the four-wheel crazy. It'll be a Ford and Chevrolet battle, Jerry. Nothing gets the crowd more pumped than that. But we're also looking at a heavyweight with a relatively conservative driver behind the wheel and a lightweight with a truly one of the scariest drivers in the business behind the pedal.
That's right. Fred Shafer definitely is one to keep your eye on. That's the truck on the far side from it. Fred is from Pontoon Beach, Illinois.
Both machines supercharged, fuel-injected burning alcohol. Like I said, a big difference in vehicle weight. The Ford substantially heavier than the Chevrolet. But as you pointed out, Jerry, anything can happen.
Ford and Chevy battle, and the crowd always loves the finals when they're a Ford and Chevy battle.
Plus, as we pointed out, the Ford driver wants to get back in the winner's circle after 9 months out of it. The man in this blue Chevrolet wants the World Points Championship lead, and he could do it with a win here.
Thumbs up, here we go. Fred Shafer, he does it, barefoot.
The crowd loves it. You could see a slight hole shot for the Ford driver, but it was no match for the brute horsepower of this machine. Take a look at the replay of the winning run. Fred Shafer goes back to his original technique of keeping it low to the ground. I would bet probably because he knew that Rob Morris knew how to use that technique very, very well. On the brakes hard, obviously he was well out in front. Morris, on the other hand, used the technique that we saw in the semifinal round where he put the truck just flat into orbit rather than keep it low to the ground. Jerry, you almost have to wonder if he kept it low, would he have been able to pull it off?
There's our winner, power sliding it around, Fred Shafer, and the crowd loves it.
No one is more of a showman than this man. And obviously, a lot of that showmanship right now comes from sheer elation. He is thrilled with what has transpired at this event, as he will now walk out of here the #1 man in the World Championship points lead.
Well, that means now that we've had three drivers have the lead for in the USHRA Association point standings in 1990.
That's right. Bigfoot led the World Championship Series for an honest 6 months. We saw Jack Willman and Forrest come in and lead for a little over 1 month, and now Fred Shafer has taken the lead from them. You have to wonder, Jerry, with 2 more events remaining now, just 2 events in the World Championship Series out of 64, what's going to happen in those last 2 events? When we come back, we'll find out what the winners have to say and what the point standings really look like.
Stay with us. Let's talk now with our winner of tonight's event, Butch Truck. Butch, great night of racing.
Well, we come out here with one thing in mind, you know, being the hometown. We wanted to come out here and win in front of all of our fans and the sponsors that we have. So we bumped the blower up, did a few things, and we wanted to either win or break the car, and things turned out good for us.
Well, Butch, here's the replay. Take a look at the monitor.
Well, I come up to the line, and on the second run, I cleared the motor. I come off, I hit drive right there. I changed gears real early in the run, and so I get the car to hook up a little bit better, and there I come across the finish line, and I just had them locked up, hoping I wouldn't slide through the ribbon again, as I do in the past. I have a lot of trouble stopping this car now. There, I got, like I said, I got stopped in time, which saved me and brought me where I'm at.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. And if I can, while I got a minute, I want to thank all my sponsors, thank my crew, my brother, my dad, my wife, my cousin, because without them, I couldn't do it. I'm the driver. I mean, it's up to them. They take care of everything. I'd like to say thanks again.
A big part of it. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
We've also got Freddie Shafer, the driver of Barefoot, down on the floor. Fred's got to feel pretty good to get back in the winner's circle again.
Great. It's a good hook and track, and everything went well.
And we've got a monitor in front of you as well. Why don't you take us through that winning run down there?
Okay, we're lining up here, taking off, and a real good bite. I picked out a good place on the cars, and it's flying a little bit crooked, but kept my foot in the gas and stayed on it, and it pulled it right out of it. And it was a good hook and track, very good dirt.
Well, this particular victory has got to make you a real factor in the World Championship points lead right now.
This is my 8th consecutive win, and I'm doing real good, real good.
Certainly are, Guy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great job by Fred Shafer and Barefoot, but right now the main concern for competitors and fans alike are the point standings, which have really gotten shaken up. In the Super Modified Mud Racing standings, Tom Martin in the Mud Patrol still leads for the third consecutive year, even though he got a DQ here tonight. But the big change came in the number 2 spot, where Jim Weber's American Made knocked the Mystic Warrior Ford of the Ward family down to third. Stumpy's Tea and Red Heat round out the top 5.
Number 6, Gold Fever. Number 7, Instant Tea. Blue Max is in number 8, Bad Habit number 9, and Still Plum Crazy rounds out the top 10 in mud.
I should point out the Track Bakery and the Still Plum Crazy machine just broke into the top 10 with his performance here tonight at the Centrum. Now, as far as monster truck racing goes, there it is. The change that we knew it was going to happen. Fred Shafer's Barefoot does just barely get in ahead of Taurus. We've got a new leader for the World Championship. Rob Morris's four-wheel crazy is third. Bigfoot is down to 4th. And First Blood is number 5. Rob Fuchs still hanging on to a top 5 spot there, Jeff.
In the second half of the top 10, the Eliminator, number 6, Evil Force, number 7, the AMPM Rocket, number 8, Excalibur, number 9, and High Voltage, now number 10.
So 2 major changes there in that the Eliminator gets knocked down a spot. The AMPM Rocket of Dale Boucher moves into the top 10 with his upset victory here tonight. But, Jerry, the next time we come back, it'll be from the one that matters, the World Points Championship finale in Chicago, Illinois.
We'll be there.
It should be wild, especially the way things have gone so far in the last half of 1990. The final battle for the World Championship on the U.S. Harvard Association Tour should prove to be one of the single wildest events in U.S. Harvard Association history. In any case, on behalf of myself, Bret Kepner, and Jerry Devine, thanks for being with us. Next time, we'll see you from Chicago from the big one. See you then.
So long, everyone.
This has been an SRO Pace production in association with ESPN.